So let's start talking about seasonal opportunities. Now, what I mean by seasonal opportunities are things that are available this summer. Now, there are some things that are going to be purely seasonal. What I mean is they're only going to be available in summer. And one of the obvious ones, especially in the education world, is summer school. Summer school is probably available maybe in your school district. If you're at a public or private school district, they may have a program. I will say that what my wife did was actually she teaches in one of the local public school districts here, but she actually did summer school for a few summers at a local church that had a program from 8 in the morning to noon. So it was really only a half day program 4 days a week. And so that was nice because she still had a lot of her summer break and it was tilted towards the morning. So you could still go out, do things in the afternoon, have your evenings, and then the long weekends free. So a lot of different opportunities there. And a couple of resources that I found that where they are listing these summer school programs, Summer Program Finder and schoolspring.com, or some websites that have a lot of listings for opportunities. Now, I will say too, it may be easiest to go to your administrators and find opportunities right in your own school district. So that might be something that's really obvious. And it doesn't necessarily have to be teaching. It can be lots of different programs might be available, a lot of different opportunities that might even be a little lighter than your normal duties. Summer activities too, all right? There's a lot of summer camps and pools. There are a lot of like community pools and community activities and a lot of day camps. And in particular, my area, the YMCA has programs. You can find some opportunities there. Again, whether sometimes it's counseling and being on the ground with people, maybe it's instructing in a class or volunteering kind of in administration, whatever it might be, sometimes pay, sometimes volunteer roles, but a great opportunity to do something with the summer as well. And Cool Works has a section on camp jobs. And then there was another website I found, American Camp Association. Both of these are listing needs in a lot of different places all over the country. So that might be worth checking out too. Again, purely seasonal type of work. It might be guides. So you might have an opportunity in your area because maybe it's a tourist destination of some sort. Maybe you're out in the country and there's rafting or biking or those types of things. And if you're in a city, seeing the sights, tours, walking, a lot of these things are available through organizations like showaround.com or even rentafriend.com. And some of these you can just do independently. Rentafriend.com is something that is done directly with you. It's a funny name, but what people do, some tourists, because maybe they're not traveling with anyone, maybe they don't know the area, maybe they don't want to sign up with a tour company, maybe they want to have a little more intimate look at kind of the things on the ground. They can just book some of your time and you're just escorting them around, showing them, pointing out things. And so it could be a good opportunity to meet someone new in a much more casual and intimate environment as opposed to large tour groups. The other thing that you might be able to do is coaching. So maybe you have experience in sports and not even just coaching, but maybe even around the coaching and sports environment. So community rec centers, camps, and churches will have a lot of different leagues. Doesn't necessarily even need to be kids. A lot of corporations will have summer leagues, whether it is volleyball or basketball or things like that. And a lot of associations will recruit in refs and umpires and then create that list of available refs. And a friend of mine actually does that. He is a volleyball judge and he's part of the association. So what he does is he gets these opportunities where there are games or matches, and then he goes and he is the referee for them and he gets paid $50 a game. So he goes, he's got his zebra stripes, he goes, signs in, does the refereeing and then leaves and gets paid through his association. So what I would definitely check are either like your local sports leagues or your local sports associations. There's an activities association where you can find information on becoming either a coach, a referee, or an umpire. So some opportunities there too. Now, I also broke out some things that are mainly seasonal. These are probably tilted very heavily to the summer season, but aren't necessarily only during the summer. A lot of people go on vacation. And so a lot of people want their house set. That is because a lot of reasons, whether they just want this extra security, maybe they're worried about flooding or weak pipes or something like that. So a lot of people will just want their house either lived in or checked in on, and you can do that job. It's going to be very easy. Hopefully, in many cases, it's very uneventful. Housesitter.com, run by Care Guide, is a place where you can sign up and look for house sitting opportunities and trusted house sitters too. You can register. It's almost easier than babysitting because you don't have to entertain anyone in most cases. And another one is pet care. And this is really in two big categories here: walking, caring for pets, giving them their exercise, as well as boarding. So a lot of people don't have time to walk their pets. And a lot of times people want to go on vacation, but they don't want to board their dog in a kennel. They would rather have their pet either at their home or at someone's home that would give them a more comfortable environment. And so there's a lot of opportunities there. I actually have a participant who does both. She walks dogs during the week and the weekends. And then especially on spring break and in the summer, she picks up a lot of dog boarding. So she actually used to have some dogs, and so her house is set up and it's nice and conducive for hosting dogs. And so she actually brings quite a bit of money, thousands of dollars, doing dog boarding. So it's really awesome. WAG is an app. You can just go to your app store, download it, register, and start dog walking right away. Rover.com, they also have an app, will offer dog walking and matching services as well as boarding. And I don't mean to exclude cats. Cats are certainly in here as well as other pets. Dogvacay.com, again, an animal boarding service, and Petbacker animal boarding as well. So a lot of opportunities there. And if you love pets, this could be a great way to interface with some animals and make some money doing it too. And then the third one, lawn care. Between spring and fall, there's a lot to be done. A lot of blades of grass need to get cut, and a lot of people like to outsourcing it. And so you could go the old fashioned way where, like when I was growing up, I just knocked on people's doors and said, hey, I would love to cut your lawn. But now it's even easier. You don't even have to do that. So there are a number of apps like Lawn Guru, Task Easy, lawnmowingonline.com, and even my favorite name here, Plows and Mows, is a service that will match up people's needs for taking care of the lawn, cutting their lawn, trimming, edging, whatever it might be, with people who can do it. And Plows and Mows is actually even seasonal in the fact that you can get them for plowing driveways and plowing sidewalks and things like that. So if you like doing that in the winter, you have a nifty snowblower or plow on your truck, that might be an interesting way to pick up some extra money as well. Now, some of the other things that you can do is like usher or security. So this was actually inspired by a buddy of mine and his wife actually volunteer, or get paid a little bit, but I call it volunteer because that wasn't really the point. Is so they get paid to go and tear tickets and usher people to their seats at a very nice concert hall in Chicago. But it's really not so much about the money. It's about being able to have access to those shows. So they get to sit in the back for any of the shows they want. They don't have to stay around once they do their job, but it's a great way to see lots of great shows that would be ridiculously expensive and they don't have to pay anything for it. So it's a money hack. You would make money and also maybe cut out some of the expenses that you would otherwise be spending money on, or maybe just really enjoy or not have an opportunity to do. Concessions. Now, this is probably pretty obvious. I probably have a ton of stories, but I want to share my own here. I actually had a friend at a local racetrack here in Chicago, had a buddy who did the hot dog stand and he did the beer stand, and said, hey, his buddy was going to be out of town for a day and if I could fill in for him. And so I did. And actually what they paid was about minimum wage for the 3 hours that I was there. But what I didn't realize, being magnanimous about it, was that you get to keep all your tips. And so what they did is the facility just brings the hot dogs, restocks you, and you just mark as hot dogs are sold. They know how many hot dogs they've delivered and how many they throw away at the end. And they just expect you to have the money for that, which you do. But then anything above that, you get to keep. So I actually made $25 an hour as a first timer selling hot dogs at the racetrack. I was just standing at the concession cart. So it was really great. I was surprised. It gave me and my wife several nights out for eating. And so it was really, really awesome and unexpected. And I can understand why people want to do that long term, because it's really easy work. And so that might be something that you think about. Another buddy of mine actually works at his local baseball field and sells hot dogs out of one of those trays that he carries around, and does very well on that too. Now, another role, and I'm going to put this in quotes, product demonstrator, because that's actually the title of the role in most of the listings. And this can be a lot of different things, but I have several friends that do this. One of them had to go to a local parade here in Chicago and hand out sports drinks. So they had a big cooler and they were just handing them out, wearing the shirts and wearing the garb. Another friend of mine goes to the local wine stores here and pours wine, a product demonstrator. So there's a whole big range of what product demonstrators are. Even the people, if you go to Costco and they're cooking up some sample food or showing you the latest granola bars, those are all roles that fall in this product demonstrator category. And so they're really widely varied, but they are really easy. They can be pretty fun. You're usually a contractor. And what I would say is what you want to do is go to the typical job boards and just type in product demonstrator for your area, because that will probably bring up a lot of different options. And sometimes they're regular jobs, sometimes they're one-off, but usually they pay pretty well considering that they are for contractors. All right. Another mainly seasonal job, which I had never heard of until recently, was a field research technician. And this one is a little bit skewed to people who might live in a rural area generally, or an area that might support a lot of research. So maybe you're near a scientifically significant area, like for archaeology, or in a farming community where they are looking at soil and pesticides and different things, right? So a lot of times in the summer, what research facilities, schools will do is send out a team to do their research. And what they will do is usually hire from the local area people to do some of the technical things, whether it is bagging and tagging samples or processing things or entering data into a computer. So it can be a really nice, light, leisurely work. And you're making a difference working with people in a technical sense. And it might just be something that you enjoy because you're out and about and meeting some new people. So that is a job opportunity. They usually will compensate relatively decently because they're short and sometimes they need technical skills. The other thing I'm going to throw in here is just regular part-time work. I have people that work a shift at Target. It brings in some income, but more than that, they shop at Target. So they get the employee discount. Again, double-edged for people, right? They get both sides of the benefit. And so a lot of these are going to just be listed on boards: field research technician, product demonstrator, part-time work. Simplyhired.com, Indeed.com are great places where there's going to be a lot of listings. And so you can look for those locally.